We are going to talk about arrays today, and if we look at the online textbook, it has multiple examples, but we're going to look at a simple one. An array is basically like a list, and it holds multiple items of the same data type. So you can hold an array of integers, for example, or an array of strings. So this is how you create an array. You create an array by specifying the type of things that you would like in the array. So here we say I want integers in an array. So that's what our square brackets are for. I want to name my array high scores, and I want 5 items or 5 spaces in my array. Now initially, this is going to create an array of 5 zeros. Now the way an array works is, let's take, for example, let's look at this locker example here. So let's say that this is an array and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots open in it, okay? So if I were to initialize this and not specify any values, this array would have 0 in this spot, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So 6 integers all equal to 0. And if you remember when we looked at strings and we want to access different characters, we access that with an index variable, an index value, sorry. So just like with strings, we start at 0. So this would be the 0th index, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth. So just like with strings, our index values, the last index value will always be equal to the length minus 1. So even though there are 6 spots here, the very last index is going to be 5 and the first is going to be 0. So that's very important, especially if we want to access the values that are in any given index of an array. And this is also very important if we want to populate or put in values into an array. And I'm actually going to demonstrate how you do that using a for loop. So I'm going to switch over now to BlueJ. And I've written up this quick demo of how to create an array of integers from 0 to 9. So I've created a new array called number array, an array of integers, and it has 10 spots, and I want to fill it with integers from 0 to 9. Okay, so that's 10 different numbers from 0 to 9. I went ahead and set up my for loop so that it would keep track of the index position of my array, and also use that same variable to put the value of the index within that spot of the array. Okay, so I start at 0. I always check if I'm less than 10, so I'll end at 10, but not do anything at 10. And at each iteration of this for loop, I'll increase my index value by 1. Okay, so at the first run, my index value is 0. 0 is less than 10. So we go ahead and run the code. So I'm saying that at the 0th index of my array, number array, I'm going to turn that value into 0. Okay? Then I'm going to print out the value that is at the 0th position in my number array. So that should be 0 also. Then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to my index value. Index equals 1. Is 1 less than 10? Yep, it is. So now at the first position, which is really the second position, of my number array, I'm going to put in the value 1. So if I print out that value at that spot, it's going to be 1. And so on. So this will go on until index equals 9. At which case 9 is still less than 10. So at the 9th position, it will insert the value 9. So when I print it out, it should say 9. So let's go ahead and see if this works. And it should print out the value 0 to 9. Okay, 0 to 9. Now what if I didn't want the values, the integer values to match the index values? Maybe I'm actually printing out the index values and I don't know because they're the same at this point. Well, let's say that instead of making the value of the integer at this index part of the array, I'm going to assign the value as index times 10. So now, if I were to print out the values at each index of the array, I should see 0, I should see 10, I should see 20, all the way till 90. So let's go ahead and see if that is actually going to work out for us. And yes, it does. So this has been a demonstration of how to create an array and then how to populate it with integer values.